Welcome, guys, to the Sparky Coach pod. Got Crowie here. I'm Cam, and today we're going to talk about invoicing.
I felt like you were talking in slow motion at the start. We're talking all things invoicing. I just had a sip of water, if you're listening, when you're driving, and this water out of the tap is very hard to drink. Very hard to drink! Silver chair, rocking out. Okay, there's some context. There's some method to the madness here, so. Right? Some listening to the Silver Chair with the boys, yep. Frog Stomp, and in there's this line in that song, and it says, "It's tomorrow." If you didn't know, if you're under a rock for the last 38 years of your life, right? Anyway, it says, "You say that money isn't everything. Well, I'd like to see you live without it. You say that money isn't everything. Well, I'd like to see you live without it." And it's it got me thinking, people ask us all the time, or ask me all the time, love to hear your thoughts on this, because I'm just lumped you in with me, just in a statement. But, I think the number one thing for business is, maybe the most important thing, it has to be economically viable. It's got to be making money. And, like, you want to provide a good product, yeah. You want some lifestyle, yeah. You want some automation, yeah. You want a bit of this, bit of that, yeah. But at the end of the day, if the profit's not there, what's the point? If the money's not there, what's the point? It's got to be economically viable. So I was just smashing the Silver Chair and listening and driving with the boys, because they're like, "Put on the Silver Chair." And I'm like, rock and roll, baby. That was a nice break from Britney Spears. Yeah. I mean, is it? But, anyway, so... we're just talking about, the money has to be there, and we're talking about invoicing here, and we're going to both go through sort of how we do it. And I think it's really important, because you might do the best job, but if the invoice is late or not sent, you don't get paid. And so many people come to us and they're like, I've got a cash flow issue. Yeah. And it's the most common thing, one of the most common things you hear. I've got a cash flow issue. And it's like, okay, let me see your figures. Like, what is this? And it's like, okay, there's a cash flow issue, yeah, because you're not sending your invoices, but also the cash was never there to begin with, because your hours are cooked, right? So I think the biggest thing is, you've got to send your invoices in a certain rhyme or reason or structure. I'll get to you in a second how you do it currently. I want to hear how you did it at the start, and I want to hear how you do it now, because I want to share my story too. But so often, like, it's so important to get your invoices out regularly, because they show where you're at, and there should be some kind of target set every single week. I know I send 13 grand of invoices per week, 130 grand invoices per week, whatever your size of business at. You should have some kind of loose idea, obviously up and down with progress payments and bits and pieces, but there should be some sort of flatline stability or regularity with the process. But from the outset, how did you invoice at the start? like I'm talking grassroots CRM, because you came from the mines, yeah?
Yeah, came from massive, big construction.
Gas plant.
Yeah, big gas plant. So there was no structure. It was ad hoc, and it was just sort of do it when you sort of felt like it, I guess. Or
Did
when
you
had
ever
time.
feel like it?
You don't really ever feel like it. I guess probably the thing you always find is that it's never really the focus for whatever. It's so bizarre when you think back and look backwards. In the rearview mirror, it should be the absolute priority, because I think you just focus on trying to get the work. Like, it's always like, I got to get more work. And it's like, why don't I have any money? It's because you've got 20 invoices that haven't been sent out, plus the 10 jobs that you're doing at the moment you haven't even sent a deposit for to begin with. So to answer the question is, I had no structure, plan, methodology. It just happened when it happened.
That's a lot of people's story. My story starting out, my first couple of invoices are on Microsoft Word. Like, so I'm talking Word. If you know me, I'm the tech lord. There's no polite way to say it. How do I log into this?
Yeah.
But it was Word, and I was
just typed up,
and I was actually on a calculator.
Yep.
Some people out there message me, because I know I can't be the only one this stupid, you know. But I was adding it up, right? Like,
had you not advanced to Excel yet? Did that add up for you?
I love Excel.
Yes,
like you've heard, I love it right now, but hadn't advanced to Excel yet. Right. So I know you started with a job management system. From the ground running.
Yeah. No, we had another one to begin with. We started off with Tradify.
Oh, did you?
So start off Tradify from the very beginning and use that for a couple of years, and then advanced to SimPro.
What made you cross?
The trigger for it? At the time, it didn't give me everything that I needed. And I also had, I guess, ambitions, I suppose, at the end of the day, to sort of put it in that context, ambitions to grow a team. And from all my research at the time, SimPro was the best one. And we've had a lovely relationship since. And
You love SimPro.
I do love it.
Cam does our SimPro training for our premium members, the upper echelon of society, you might even say.
It's not for everyone, though. Let's preface that. There's different job management systems out there, and they're all great. They all have their different sort of benefits to different fields.
Yeah, we should do a poddy on this because, you know, ServiceMate is super intuitive and
Tradify is really good.
Tradify is good.
I've heard good things about Fergus as well. And there's other ones out there too.
And I've heard great things about Microsoft Word.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, they are one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah.
So let's go back to hear about your twinkling typing days.
So typing with a secondary calculator, right? Like adding it up. Then I remember this is where it kind of cracked for me. Mm-hmm. And we grew pretty organically. So I started a business in my hometown. I knew a lot of people just from being around and, you know, surfing a lot and that kind of stuff. And, you know, so it was it was a pretty easy start for me. I had a lot of friends that were starting businesses at the same time, and I was just extremely disorganized. Really, really good on the tools. Yeah. Really, really good face to face. Really, really bad invoicing. So I remember.
I'm shocked that you were disorganized. I really am.
yeah, exactly. And it's really funny. So I remember for me, it hit a point where people were just going, "Oh, when's that invoice coming?" And these are the people like I've done work for. These people are trying to give me money, and I'm like, no, not today. No English. no, CC. And
how's the feeling? Like, how did you feel physically when you got that email or the phone call or text where it's like, hey, just wait for this invoice? Like, how did it make you feel?
Oh, I felt physically sick.
Yeah, you feel really weird
all the time because I'm really big on closing the week at the moment. So every variation must be talked about. Every invoice has to be closed off. You have to look at your numbers, got to look at your billable hours. Any conversation you walk past has to be confronted. That's our Tuesday 10 o'clock call session, like in terms of this is how you close the week. But I was closing no week. I was barely closing a quarter. And I remember it was like, I don't know, it was April 1, April Fool's Day. It was like somewhere in April, early April. And I remember going, where was I Feb 2? Like I'm going back to February trying to send invoices at this point. And
did you get the diary out and you're like,
no. I wish I got the diary out.
That's right. You were disorganized, so you didn't have a diary.
No, I had the A4 diary from the wholesaler, which I used intermittently.
Yeah.
So I had a wholesaler diary. I had cardboard. I had
just ripped boxes. So good.
There was no straight lines on the cardboard.
No. One job had like materials. The other one had Jenny's number for a job I had to go to, and the other one had Smoko lunch order.
It was nuts. I'm not like I wish I was even making this up. And then I had cardboard. Then I got into voice memos because my mate said voice memos. Then I got into text message. And at some point I was emailing myself job notes. So I had like 6-7 ways of communication, which was like all coming to me, and I'm filtering back through.
You are the tech lord though, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, this has got to be on the cloud somewhere.
What's my login?
Yeah. Can't remember my login, but it's up there somewhere. So anyway, I kind of, and at that point, you know, we had a team, and I was spending like the invoices were so disorganized. It was like probably a day and a half worth of work to work out where you were a week, or you know, something crazy. And invoices, they take time and they've got to be done correctly, and the carpet must match the drapes. Like, you know, if you've got a cost plus job, that has to look like a $15,000 job, and you have to be detailed and organized and itemized on the invoice. So it was good once it got sent. The drama is it didn't get sent, and the drama is it got sent on like a Saturday night or Sunday morning. And I think we spoke about this yesterday, but no one wants to receive an invoice on Friday afternoon or Saturday night. You want it Monday morning. So anyway, my first experience was like, I've got to get, and someone just said to me, it was like, you know when you're in the hamster wheel and you don't know you're in the hamster wheel? I was just like manic. It's so crazy running a business, man. Like I'm pushing hard on the tools and coming home, opening the computer. Like I was the most important man on earth. Like I was running some kind of giant country. I'm running a small electrical company in a country town, like close but no cigar, you know what I mean? And someone goes, you should get someone else to do that. And I was like, yes, yes, that's. It was like a bang, just bomb went off in my head, and I'm like, yeah. So I got, I just made like 2 phone calls, and I'm a big believer that the answer is only ever 2 phone calls away. You know, whether you've got a technical question about a switchboard or you've got a question about business, I reckon go through your phone book, client list, contact list, or whatever. If you don't know, their friend will know, or something not too dissimilar to that, right? So we got someone on board, $300. They did all the invoices, like every single week. So we did a hybrid of service and maintenance and project work. So there was no point for us doing invoices twice a week, and I didn't really want the guys accepting cash on site, or payment on site at that point. It just didn't quite fit for our business model. Like I get that works for people, but it wasn't really for us. So we just used to send every invoice every single Monday morning. So I still remember coming out of the abyss and going and getting there on Monday morning with my coffee, looking through the hours, looking through the invoices sent, approving them and sending them. I was a big believer I had to check every invoice.
Massive believer. I think a technical person or someone has to take responsibility to check. Someone can prepare, that's all well and good, but someone needs to sign off on it and be like, yep, cool,
and if it's progress payment 1 for job or the job was quoted, that's obviously, we're not talking about that, but like most times you can look through an invoice, and I reckon I was picking up 2 to 3 grand of discrepancies a month just by looking at it. And then when you look at through the job notes, you're like, you must have used an RCD there, and you call, oh yeah, I forgot to write that down. I'm like, thanks for nothing. Like so it's like
it's in a photo. There's like 6 RCBOs there. And like, oh yeah, I forgot about that job.
Yeah.
Forgot about that part of the job.
Yeah,
the most important part where you turn it on.
Yeah. So, and it's just amazing what you can pick up when you can read an invoice and picture what happened. So I would read it, check it, and be like, oh, don't send that. Oh, I had that conversation about that variation. Oh, this had that. So you would kind of pick it up. It also gave me a feel, kept my finger on the pulse in the business. So I still remember looking at that, prepared every single Monday morning. It honestly changed my life. Like it changed my life. It freed me up a day and a half a week. And when you get freed up at that stage of business, you can now get back to people on quoting, and now you're regularly sending invoices because they're prepared. There's no emotional wait at 10 p.m. to go through it, and I found our business turned around. So cash was coming in, and I was able to, because I had time now to check every single hour, check every single job, check every single day. And sometimes go with me here, sometimes your jobs make sense. In other words, quoted to, it took me to, quoted to, took me to, quoted to, took me to. So 100% job efficiency, but the day's cooked because you got 6 hours out of 8 hours. So you need to add like a small job travel fee or add a little bit extra to your pre-builds or price book or something. So it was just it gave me time to be aware, to chase clients, keep existing clients happy, chase staff, keep staff happy, and do the large quotes. So it was honestly game changing for me. And since then, I was just like, every invoice, we have a rule, like every invoice has to be sent, I think, by Tuesday afternoon from the week before. And then different strokes for different folks, but you might send them twice a week, 3 times a week, once a week. So that's sort of my story. But where are you guys at now? Because you do same thing, hybrid of service and maintenance / project.
Service and maintenance and project. So we try and it's not master to an art, but we get them, they're prepared by someone else or put together as far as they can go with that information, and then I do the approval, like / sign off on it. A lot of our service and maintenance work, it's paid on site, so the technicians take the payment for it on site, so that's just a straight through, basically bang, bang, bang. It still gets checked off and approved. We don't send invoices on site. They just, at the moment, currently still, we just write it up and it gets approved and accepted and all that, and they take payment for it. They get sent out a couple of times a week. Could we try and keep them moving? as such. And then with the projects, it purely depends on what the agreement is with the customer. So most of our larger customers are either weekly, fortnightly, or monthly claim that goes through on around normally like your 21st. You've got to have it submitted by then. So it just becomes a bit of a priority to make sure that it's out by that, and by that week it's prepared up and sent out. So try and create a structure. We're working on ways to make it more streamlined, because it's not 100% yet, but try and work around that. You try not to have too much lying in there.
And are there any invoices that the crew can send without you knowing about, or do you look at everything?
Nah, so I check off everything. Yeah. So, but some of them, I mean, are literally a 30-second look at. It's just purely based around a responsibility and accountability, because someone needs to do it. Because if you don't allocate that to someone, or you don't take it on yourself, it's too open for issues to occur. So, for example, like law firms and those sort of places, that all gets prepared for them by account managers or PAs or whatever. But the actual lawyer or the partner who's doing that part of the job, shout out to lawyers, correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone that I know in that space, they sign off on it. So it's their responsibility to be like, yes, that's approved, and then it goes back and it gets sent.
Yeah, just in case any lawyers are listening to like a tradie podcast,
yeah, 100%.
Crazy. So, okay, that's really interesting to see how you do it. And what is your late payment follow-up? Like, what's your payment follow-up kind of structure?
So overdue ones?
Yeah,
so it's allocated to a particular person in the office, and they follow up on it. So with Simpro, beauty of it all, you set the parameters for the client, and then it goes to being, it's due in X amount of time, and then it's overdue by 1 day to 1 to 7 days, 7 to 14, and there's a overdue time allocated for 1 day a week, where one of the admin team go through it, and they fire off phone calls, emails, harass, chase up. So, and once we put that process in place, we went from having outstanding invoices of like, I'm not going to lie here, hundreds of days, which is not uncommon to see, to, very rarely do you get anyone that goes more than like a month or so.
Yeah, you tighten up the whole process. I remember for me, and I know you'll resonate with this, and everyone listening will resonate with this, because I will send every invoice on the Monday, complete, so here was my sort of rule. Go with me here in the psyche. If we were roughing in a job and we were halfway through it, I would send the progress payment for the roughing, which I was 10% temps, 50 roughing, and then 25, 15, or something not too dissimilar to that, depending on what job you were at. But you want the money in your account. But so let's just say small jobs that you go to and you're waiting on a part. It might be $1,000 job, $500 job, $2,000 job, whatever. You know how you go, I'll just wait till I finish it to send that.
We normally break it up into 2 jobs.
That's what we did too. Yeah.
So if you've gone there and figured out the issue, that's 1 job.
Yeah.
Going back to get with the replacement part, 2nd job.
Yeah, so that was really important for me to understand, because otherwise I'd be looking at like 60 to 90 days out, and the client's gone, they're unsure, and I'm putting the job off. It just made me really disciplined in getting back and finishing the job, closing it out, because the most important job is the one you're at. And the importance of weekly invoicing as well. Like, I remember doing this job. We were working for a lighting shop, hanging like Unistrut off steel beams and heaps of pendant lights, like 50 to 60 pendant lights, but like real obscure, fair bit of labour involved, 8-foot ladders, so it's not just moving heaps of furniture around, so it wasn't just your straightforward sort of job. And I remember we spent there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I remember we went to go there Monday, Tuesday too, and I remember looking at the bill on the looked at it, for some reason it was prepared on the Friday this day, or like I was just aware of how much it was, or something like, I can't remember what exactly, but like I remember being aware, okay, that's about like, we're up to sort of 5 or 6 grand. Called the guy and I said, hey, we're up to this, like, are you cool, like, do you want us to come back on Monday? And he's like, oh, give us a breather and we'll do it again, we'll finish it in 2 weeks time. So it's like, if I had have just not sent that invoice, finished job Monday, Tuesday, there would have been like a shanking in the street. He would have thrown a pie at my face. going like, what the hell is this? But because I was on top of the figures and aware, I was able to communicate properly. And because I had the headspace to not do invoices at 11 o'clock at night, very different. So
massive.
So you got to have some kind of rule and rhyme and reason to your pathway. And weekly invoices, there's no excuses.
I think you got to look at it as a minimum to create some kind of structure that at least you're doing it once a week.
Worst case, Armageddon, Tom Cruise movie, Monday afternoon, they're all sent. You know, and if you're working in a lot of service and maintenance jobs, payment on site, fantastic. Of course, close a business payment. I want to touch base here on payment terms too.
Yes.
So I know people have lots of opinions about got to have you close a business or 7-day terms or whatever, but the reality is if you're doing a large job, you kind of, not like bullied's not a right word, but you're coming under someone else's payment structure. So if that large builder or commercial client has like you invoice on the 25th and you get paid on the 1st of the next month, then you have a choice to accept that job or not. But that's like you're out 60 days pretty much, and and they're not even late. And that's okay as long as you know.
You've got to understand that and communicate it from up front, I feel. So with all of our larger clients, it's discussed prior to commencing the job or prior to getting involved with it. And then if you've, obviously because it's a larger job, there'll be a number of projects that go through it. A number of progress payments that go through. So you'll figure out to see what their paying is like, and if they end up being terrible payers, they're probably not your ideal customer, are they?
Yeah. So, well, we had this unit job, and it was, I can't remember, like 15, 16 apartments, something like that, and it was about 7 stories. And if you've done unit stuff before, you understand that it goes fast. It goes fast. So we're sort of roughing in top level and fitting off bottom level. So there's 4 to 5 staff members there. And when it's on, it's on, and you need the additional help. And so we were, you're dropping a lot of materials in fit off and rough in, and for 60 days you can rack up quite a bill. So we owed like $250, something like that. Big risk to take on, and they weren't even late. And I think it's just a matter of going like, to some extent you have to succumb to those people's payment terms because that's just how they operate in that world, and that might be when they get paid. But it can also be open for discussion. Like we had a commercial client that would take a month to pay, and I was like, look, we're doing a lot of invoicing, we're doing a lot of dollars, moving on dollars every month here, can we tighten it up to 2 weeks? And they're like, yeah, sweet. So you can have those open and honest discussions, I think, and even have some parameters, and that's where weekly invoicing comes into it on, say, a large cost plus job, because you can send the invoice on Monday, now you're aware you're out 20 grand, and that might be your limit to go, hey, I'm not coming back unless that invoice is paid. But if you're disorganized and sending invoices every month, you rack up some ungodly bill, and then they're like, oh man, that guy sucks. You might have done the best job ever, but if your invoicing was really delayed and it was a bit more than they thought, and that's the thing with weekly invoicing, on the larger jobs like that, everyone knows where they're up to. Obviously, quoting in all this, let's confront the elephant in the room. If it's a quota job, it's really clear. It's like quoted 50, we're doing it for 50, so pretty simple. So if you had one opportunity to sort of wrap up the session and your final word of advice or wisdom, what would it be?
Final sentence or final statement? It's not going to be one word.
No, I'm not looking for a word.
So I think it's about creating a structure or identifying a structure that works for you. Picking a day all the time and allocating it to it. Ideally, try and do it inside business hours because it can be challenging. However, not the end of the world, but because everyone's at a different stage in business, I understand that. But you try and get a process, and if you can, try and invoice on the job. Particularly if you're doing a lot of small service and maintenance style work, try and invoice on the job, but create a plan and get a structure to it because it's the most important thing in business.
Yeah, my sign off is close every single day off. So you don't remember what you think you're going to remember. So make sure you and your staff members have like a job notes end of the day to send in, go to your job management system, and they have to go out invoices worst case on Monday from the week before, no excuses. There's got to be some non-negotiables in business, and you just got to get this stuff done. So happy invoicing. See you guys soon.